Hello, my friends. Yesterday, Lukashenko and Putin met once again in Russia. Zelensky has warned that Putin is preparing a new offensive from Belarus this summer. Look closely at Belarus this summer. Russia is preparing something there under the guise of military exercises. That's how their new attacks usually begin. But where will it strike this time? I don't know. Ukraine, Lithuania, Poland, God forbid. But we all must be ready. All our institutions are open for cooperation. And one thing is clear: if a full resolution to this war isn't reached soon and Trump follows through on his promise to pull out of negotiations, Russia will almost certainly decide to escalate and expand this war. That could mean launching a new offensive from Belarus. Friends, today it may sound like a stretch, but 3 years ago, no one believed an attack on Ukraine could start from Belarus either. So we need to prepare for any outcome. Meanwhile, Russia is so eager to celebrate May 9 without airstrikes that Lavrov called the proposed ceasefire a step toward unconditional direct talks.
Our proposal, as announced by President Putin, is the start of direct negotiations without preconditions. The ceasefire, in this case, is seen as a condition that will be used to further support the Kyiv regime and strengthen its military capabilities.
So, tell me, friends, do you think Ukraine should agree to yet another ceasefire? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And Kellogg stated that Trump wants the ceasefire to last at least 30 days.
President wants is a permanent, comprehensive ceasefire, sea, air, land, infrastructure for a minimum of 30 days, and then we can extend that. He's absolutely right. The president has this one right on the money. And that's where we want to go to. And when you look at everything the Ukrainians are willing to work with,
But as we can see, Russia isn't listening to Trump. They continue doing whatever they want. Meanwhile, Lavrov keeps laying down conditions for any talks.
Our fundamental position on resolving this conflict is to eliminate its root causes. These stem from years of NATO expansion eastward, right up to Russia's borders, and attempts to absorb Ukraine into the alliance, creating a direct threat to our security. I also want to stress the need to end the Kyiv regime's campaign of eradicating everything linked to Russia and the Russian world, including the Russian language, culture, Russian language media, and the canonical Orthodox Church.
And Trump's keeps repeating that Zelensky is asking for too much.
He doesn't have the cards. So hopefully he's going to get it done, because I don't believe that Vladimir Putin would be doing this for anybody else but me. A lot of people have said it too. I think he had the idea of going all the way through. I think he's willing to make a deal. And I would say thus far, he's been easier to deal with than Zelensky.
Clearly, Trump is still showing support for Russia, saying it's easier to deal with Putin than with Zelensky. Friends, I honestly don't even know how to react to this. If you do, let me know in the comments. And right after that, Rubio came out again saying that if there is no progress soon, the US will pull out of the talks. Russia and Ukraine must bring forward concrete peace proposals in the near future. If there is no progress, the US will walk away from the negotiations. And now let's move to the situation on the front lines, starting with the Kursk direction, which is gradually shifting into the Sumy region. According to official data, Ukrainian forces still remain on Russian territory, but now in very limited numbers. That said, Russian troops continue to advance little by little, almost every day. It's likely just a matter of days before Ukrainian forces fully withdraw from Russian soil. But here is the catch. The Russians haven't waited for a complete withdrawal. They've already begun pushing into the Sumy region of Ukraine. The situation there is rapidly worsening. The Ukrainian military has released footage showing Russian forces being destroyed near the village of Bilovody. According to early reports, Russian forces have advanced approximately 2 kilometers 700 meters. However, Ukraine hasn't officially confirmed any Russian offensive in this sector yet. Meanwhile, Russia admits that Ukrainian forces are still present on Russian territory and that they haven't fully cleared the Kursk region. In the Belgorod direction, Russian troops continue shelling the Sumy region, but now we have confirmed video showing Ukrainian FPV drones striking Russian targets near the village of Demidovka inside Russia. So, despite everything, the fight is far from over. The Russians claim they are slowly pushing Ukrainian forces closer to the border. In the Kharkiv direction. Things remain relatively calm if you don't count the heavy shelling of the city itself. And there has been significant FPV drone activity near the village of Udy, suggesting the Russians might be preparing for an attempted breakthrough in that area. But for now, no actual attacks have been recorded, just shelling. In Vovchansk, however, fighting continues. Russian forces have resumed assaults on the Vovchansk Hutori area, but over the past 24 hours, no territorial changes have been reported. All Russian attacks have been successfully repelled. Now to the Kupyansk direction, Russian forces continue the assaults on Petropavlivka and are also storming Malashapkivka and Kindrashivka. There had been almost a week of relative calm here, leading some to think that Russia had paused its offensive, but now it's clear they were pulling in reserves and a new wave of attacks has begun. So far, they haven't managed to break through in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, in the Dvorichna area, Russian sources claim to have captured the village of Doroshivka. However, Ukraine hasn't confirmed this yet, and we're still waiting for any visual proof that Russian troops are actually there. In the Borova direction, Russian forces continue the attacks on Boguslavka and Novakruhlakivka. However, the situation here remains stable. All assaults have been successfully repelled so far. In the Lyman direction, Russian activity remains extremely high. The Russians are storming Yampolivka, Kolodezi, Zelena Dolina, Nove, Ritko Dub, and Novy Mir. But despite these ongoing attacks, Russian forces have been unable to make any significant breakthroughs. For now, the front line remains unchanged, although the number of shelling in this area is also very high. In the Siversk direction, Russian forces continue the assaults on Grigorivka, Verkhnyo-Kamensk, and are pushing toward the area of Ivano-Daryevka. Reports have also emerged that they managed to advance past Bilogorivka. Ukrainian forces are striking the Russians there, but the Ukrainian side hasn't yet confirmed this officially, so we wait. Still, it seems that after months of attacks, Russia may have gained some minor ground in this area. In the Chasiv Yar direction, Russian troops are pushing hard toward the village of Markove, with battles ongoing in the central part of Chasiv Yar and advances toward Bilahora. There is also heavy use of FPV drones and artillery, making the situation extremely tense. Yesterday, Russian sources claimed that Ukrainian forces launched counterattacks in the area of Stupochki, but that the Russians eventually entered the village. Our units, which entrenched in Stupachka yesterday, repelled several Ukrainian counterattacks, including with armored vehicles, continued the advance, and took control of the northern part of Stupachka. So far, there is no confirmation from the Ukrainian side. We are waiting for verification. In the Toretsk direction, fighting is ongoing within the city. Russian forces are also assaulting Dachne and Delivka and pushing near Druzhba. Further south, they are attempting to expand their control near Sukha Balka and are advancing toward Stara Mykolaiivka. However, no territorial changes have been reported in the past 24 hours. That said, the intensity of shelling remains extremely high, making the situation very difficult. In the Pokrovsk direction, the Russians continue to heavily shell the entire frontline zone. They are storming Novoalexandrivka and Udachne, pushing toward the outskirts of Pokrovsk near Chunishine, and assaulting Lysivka and Sukhy Yar. They are also advancing toward Malinivka and Yelizavetivka with signs of trouble around Novopoltavka. In this area, Russian forces appear to have made some progress as Ukrainian forces have shared videos showing the destruction of Russian troops right near the highway. So we must acknowledge that the Russians have made at least small gains here. However, they still haven't managed a breakthrough or encirclement of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd. For now, we wait to see how things unfold, but the Ukrainian forces, under the command of Drapati, are doing everything they can to hold the line. In the Kurakhove direction, Russian forces remain highly active and are attempting to push toward the Dnipropetrovsk region. In fact, evacuation has already begun from the outer settlements of the Dnipropetrovsk region, indicating a serious deterioration of the situation. Currently, attacks are ongoing on Kotlarivka, which lies only 3.5 kilometers from the regional border. Assaults are also continuing on Troitsk, Konstantinopel, the village of Bahatir, and Odradne, while there have been no officially confirmed advances by Russian forces in the past 24 hours. New geolocations suggest that the Russians are indeed slowly improving their positions. Ukrainian forces are striking them right near Bahatir, close to the highway, so the situation remains difficult and the Russians are not sparing any resource. Near Velika Novosilka, the Russians have begun pushing toward the village of Shevchenko. They are also storming Vilne Pole and continue shelling frontline settlements. However, they haven't achieved any breakthroughs here either, and the frontline hasn't changed over the past 24 hours. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, assaults continue on the settlements of Lobkove, Stepove, and Shcherbaky. However, the Russians are still unable to achieve a breakthrough, and Ukrainian forces have effectively stopped them in the area of these villages, repelling all attacks. Therefore, no changes have been observed here over the past day. It's worth noting, though, that shelling in this direction hasn't ceased, and Russian forces are actively using FPV drones. In the Kherson direction, attacks on the islands continue along with ongoing shelling of the right bank of the Dnipro River. However, there have been no territorial changes reported in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, residents of Crimea are being advised not to use the Crimean bridge during the holiday period, as strikes are expected. And that's all from me. So please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest news. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.